Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Chiron, square, opposition, or inconjunct one's natal Venus. Now, when we're talking about transits and about Chiron, it can be about physical and emotional wounds and suffering, depleted self-worth and self-esteem, and also helping and healing others. Now, when you have transit Chiron basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal Venus, well, I'm going to elaborate on that. When I say basically adverse aspect, okay, squares and oppositions, those aspects are adverse and negative in astrology. Now, the inconjunct aspect, though it's neutral, neutral aspects can have good and bad qualities, and coupled with the fact that an inconjunct can often require an adjustment or transition. And that, of course, can cause some exasperation and tension. So basically, collectively, I do see this as an adverse transit. Now, anyway, when transit Chiron basically makes an adverse aspect to natal Venus, it may manifest in physical and emotional wounds and suffering, depleted self-worth and self-esteem, and also helping and healing others. Now, these things may conflict with your love, your enjoyment. It can be, things that you love to do. I mean, if you have the natal, say it's a natal Venus in Scorpio, it could be locksmithing, whether it's work or a hobby, or it could be something with psychology or the occult, which includes astrology, investigation, recycling, those things, and are some examples. And the thing is, of course, when you're dealing, with physical, or emotional suffering, naturally it's going to be harder to enjoy things you love and enjoy, but it can be more intensified and pronounced when you have this transit. Now, the thing is too, Venus is about what we value as well. And, the thing is, I mean, be interesting if somebody has like the natal Venus in the sixth house of health, and, the thing about it is, I could see where there could be great difficulty. Somebody that values health, or even if Venus is in Virgo and they're having this transit, and if they're going through some physical suffering, it could be like a major, to me, kind of like a blow to them, figuratively speaking, because, it's somebody, it's trying to value their health, and they're going through, the suffering. It might be harder for that person to, say, work out vigorously, because they could be going through some pain that could prevent them from actually doing things that would, be more contributing, that would to one's health, would contribute more to one's positive health. And the thing about this is, Venus is also connected with our relationships, which could be significant other, and also important friendships as well. And if you're going through, there might be some issues in some cases with depleted self-esteem or self-worth and how you feel about yourself. And those things, of course, could adversely impact one's relationships, again, which can include significant friendships. Say if the natal Venus is in Aquarius, it could be, people that are, friendships that are connected, to astrology or astronomy or computers, or even people that might be innovators. It could be people that are just, there can be somewhat unusual and eccentric, as some examples. And the thing about this too is, now anatomically speaking, okay, Venus is connected to the throat, the neck, the thyroid, the lower back, and kidneys as well. So the thing about this is, if you're going through any, problems anatomically that I just stated that are connected with Venus, they might be worse at this time. There might be more pain, might be more suffering, more so than usual. Maybe it's causing, some other, just general, more emotional suffering at this time, more so than usual. And maybe, trying to deal with these issues, and if if it's something that's been persistent and ongoing, could have a negative effect on your self-esteem at this time. Your could be very depleted self-esteem. As a result, you might feel like, well, why can't I do anything about this? What is going on? You may see it as more of a reflection against yourself at this time, more so than usual. Now, Another thing is that Venus is also connected with the food that you enjoy. And the thing about this transit, again, if you're going through any physical or emotional, psychological suffering, obviously, if you're trying to contend with that, it might be harder to enjoy your food at this time. Say if the natal Venus is in the zodiac sign Cancer, it could be some food that's nostalgic or something that mom made for you, or as a family traditional kind of entree. If the natal Venus is in Taurus, it could be just very basic food like potatoes and meat. As an example, natal Venus in Aquarius, of course, that could manifest in a very unusual, unorthodox, kind of, meal and diet or what have you. And this is something too. When you have this transit, keep in mind that Venus is associated with peace. And if there's any kind of suffering, if there's any in some cases, it could be, physical abuse. If somebody was having this transit and they're going through, a situation, whether they're dealing, with physical or emotional abuse, whether it's, could be a domestic situation. And if this is what's happening at this time, obviously it's going to could have more of an adverse effect on one's peace and tranquility. More so than usual. And if you have, like, say, right now the transit Chiron at the time of this video that I'm making is currently in Aries, and this is a time where people collectively may be going through more anguish and suffering, with violence, as far as could be physical violence, and as far as contentious situations in general, acrimonious situations. So anyway, another thing too is that Venus is also associated with art. So if you have, if you're doing art, say whether it's a career endeavor, ambition, or hobbies, it might be something you simply enjoy. It could be something where if you're dealing with you might be torn between helping and healing others at this time, or doing something of artistic nature, or, as I stated before, the Venus is connected with what we enjoy, your own self-centered enjoyment. It could be where you might be torn at this time and trying to do one thing, and then going back and forth between one and the other, and trying to find a balance between the two. Another thing is that Venus is also associated with legalities and lawsuits. So at this time, there might be more, anguish or suffering connected with a lawsuit at this time, more so than usual. Doesn't mean that if you've sued somebody or someone sued you that you're necessarily going to lose and you're not going to be victorious in it. But what it could mean is that you might go through more emotional suffering and pain. It might be something that could be taking a toll on you at this time, whether emotionally, physically, what have you, and it might be something that might be causing more, just more turmoil in general at this time, more so than usual. Now, another way that this transit may manifest, it could be where there may be difficulty in helping and healing others. It could be due to simply money-making ventures. Venus is connected with money. Of course, Chiron is associated with helping and healing others. Now, this could be, let's say, for example, if the natal Venus is in Scorpio, it could be doing something, money-making endeavors. It could be with building and coding, recycling. As some examples, maybe occult work, which includes astrology, something that's connected with transformation. It could be rebuilding a vehicle or an engine, as an example. Now, another thing too, another way this transit may be expressed, it could be where physical and emotional wounds may make it more difficult to enjoy the self at this time. Now, let's say, for example, if the natal Venus is in, let's say it's in Aquarius in the 11th house, it could be simply doing, computer, astrology, activities, with friends or acquaintances or in a group-related matter. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back, but anyway. And also, too, another way this transit may manifest, it could be about depleted self-worth or self-esteem. May adversely affect your relationships. Now, let's say if the Venus is natal Venus is in Gemini, as an example, let's say it's in the third house. It could be doing something. Maybe you're trying to have there's some enjoyment. Somebody that's very multifaceted, versatile, which is Gemini. A relationship you had with this person from the early education, which is connected with the third house, early education. Also to the pain which runs deepest, which is Chiron, may have a negative or adverse effect on your own self-worth and self-esteem and how you feel about yourself at this time. It could be, let's say for example, if the transit Chiron is in Aries, which it is at the time of making this video. Let's say if the transit Chiron again is in Aries in the 12th house as an example. It could be perhaps there were some physical confrontations at this time. Maybe you've lost a battle, whether it's physical, verbal, what have you, and it might be tied in with secret sorrows, which is the 12th house, and it might be having an adverse effect on your self-worth, which is Venus. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.